Gentani, bonjour, and welcome to another episode of the Godfather Minute. My name is Alex Robinson.
And I'm Andy Robinson.
Together we make up the Godfather Minute, boys. So today we're talking about minute 112.
Do you ever hear the Godfather this excited?
It sounds almost like the little Godfather, like when he like Godfather babies.
Yeah.
His little mustache.
What were those beanie babies?
Beanie babies. You know how much those are worth now? Oh my gosh.
Bonacera babies.
Hey, Bonacera baby, come here.
So what do you got?
We're talking about minute 112.
Uh-huh. You know, I realized that in 2 minutes, it will be minute.
Don't tell me they shoot Sonny on the cause.
No. Don't say shoot Sonny on the cause. Poor choice of words there. In minute 114, we will have been at this for exactly 2 years.
No, should that be minute 104?
Oh, 104. Sorry, I'm not. I've been at this too long.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we already passed that milestone.
Full of monkey business with the girls going in your head, making you soft in the head. What does he say? Something like that?
I look terrible. I'm going to stay here and eat food. Alex, e minuto?
E minuto.
Numero?
112.
112.
112.
You got it. 112.
12. So it's like 2. It's like 100 to 10.
No, it's like 100 and then 12. Oh, yeah. 10 2.
Well, 2.
Cento is 100.
Yeah.
And then 12.
Does that mean 2 plus 12?
No, it really means 10.
So do means 2.
Due.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway. So in minute one.
Stick to podcasting. Forget the Latin, all right?
Sorry, I went to college to get stupid.
I know. I appreciate you trying to take it apart like that. You might be right. I can't tell you what the individual phonemes mean. What do you got for one? People don't want to hear us dissect a minute.
No, in fact, one of the only complaints we've ever gotten are people complaining about the Italian. That and our constant hyping of the bonus content, which you can get to by going to godfatherminute.com/support.
Well, that being said, Alex, e minuto. Numero 112.
12.
You got it.
Because isn't Dici 10? Anyway, so yes, in minute 12, Mikey and Apollonia's wedding wraps up, and they retire to is it Dr. Taza's villa?
Taza.
Casa Taza. And when he's there, Mikey delicately takes her face into his murdering hands. So this is it, the minute we've been waiting for.
This is it, the minute I've been dreaming about.
At long last, love.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot specific to this minute. Do you have a lot? Like I just have a lot of trivia about marriage the ages.
I've got some stuff from the book, but you know, Alex, after years of listening to you blather, is what he says in Lebowski. Blather. What are you blathering about? After your fans hearing you blather for years and years, they still want to know who is the real Alex Robinson.
Who is the real Alex Robinson?
So the question I have for you, if you were single.
If I was single?
If you were single.
Yeah.
This is completely hypothetical. Could you ever get married to someone of another culture? Not that this is Michael's scene. I mean, it's kind of a different culture.
It's a scene.
It's a little
scene, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see that.
You wouldn't stick with your own...
Stick with my own kind?
Stick with your own ethnicity, race?
You mean half Polish, half half Polish, quarter Colombian, quarter, etc. There was a time where it's funny actually, because when I was younger, so much younger than today, when I was a single guy, actually, I worked with a woman who was Russian, like real Russian, like, oh, get loose and squeal.
Why was she in such a hurry?
Because she wanted to get
Did she play the Quico? Quica. Sorry.
And I was like, oh, that's weird, because like I would talk to her, and you probably have noticed this about me, is that I tend to kind of rely on jokes and humor and stuff like that. And sometimes you can't necessarily do that with someone from a different culture, because they might not either get your references or understand your humor.
You could inadvertently insult them.
Right. And so that really, that kind of threw me a bit. And then I was like, well, maybe that's good, because then they can find out who the real Alex Robinson is, rather than have to be hiding behind a sword shield of cracking jokes all the time. So, but I never acted upon it. But that was as close as I've gotten, I guess.
Oh, interesting.
Well, what about you? Who is the real Andy Robinson? You spent a year in Costa Rica.
It's true.
So you have more opportunity.
Oh, I could definitely. I like enjoy spending time with people from other cultures.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean by
you did wink when you said that. So I think I know what you mean when you say you enjoy spending time with people from other countries.
Did you see the air quotes I did?
Oh, I totally did. Yeah. the downward air quotes. That's
downward air quotes.
Down with air quotes.
That's like the human brackets. But when I said before you could inadvertently insult someone, I did that accidentally. I was getting to know some people from the Dominican Republic community, and I was at a party, and I went in and I said, I too rely on humor because I think I'm somewhat funny, and it's a great way to break the ice. But
wait, you're kidding, right?
And so I went into this party and I said, oh, people were telling jokes in Spanish, but they all knew English too. They were all bilingual. And I said, I just heard this joke. And I said,
you can tell it in Spanish.
I said, no, in English, I told her. And I said, Jack and Jill went up the hill, each with a buck and a coin. So I did the whole dice routine.
Wow, the whole thing?
The whole thing, like 15 of them, because it was really popular back then.
Yeah, it's true. It was the 90s. We didn't know any better.
They didn't laugh.
Early 90s? Late 80s?
Late 80s.
Late 80s.
Late 80s. Yeah.
So then no one laughed.
No one laughed.
But
I'm laughing now because those are funny.
Yeah. Looking back, they were clearly the wrong ones.
Hey, you know what? I just thought of a good bonus content.
What's that?
Godfather, Andrew Dice Clay, Connie Carlo, go up the hill. Each we'll do it later.
All right.
It'll take some brain power.
We might have to plan that one ahead.
Yeah.
But
that's a funny one.
That's a good one, though. It's a good one, though. Yeah.
But moving on, how about the minute? Sorry, I have one other follow-up question. Yeah. So you said you could see yourself being with someone from a different culture. If you were in Mikey's shoes, not Sicilian, your ethnicity, and you're in another country, how long would it take for you hiding out there to break down and get married to someone?
Oh boy, I can't imagine.
And there's no end in sight. You don't know if you're going to be there for a year or 2 or 10.
I don't know. That's because that opens up a whole nother, like, beyond just the fact that I don't speak whatever the language is. I don't know.
Speak the international language.
Oh yeah, you can't see it now, but Andrew is he's making a circle with his finger and thumb with one hand, and he's putting his pointer finger in.
I'm not doing that. I haven't done that since I was like 40. Come
really? I still do it like once a week.
Oh, that's too much information. Right.
Hey, you said you wanted to know who the real Alex Robinson was. So what was your question?
How long would you wait before you married someone in the country where you're hiding out?
Probably I would as quickly as possible. I'd want to find somebody. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a play in the field kind of guy, especially in a foreign country. If I manage to trick one woman into marrying me in a foreign country, they're like, okay, I'm not going to hedge my bets and be like, yeah, you know what? I can do better than you, señorita. So I would just, the first for the green card too, not whatever the Polish version of the green card.
The green card. Hey, did you hear the I'm making this up right now. Did you hear about the Polish man who got a green card?
No, what happened?
He thought it gave him the right to recycle.
That's Sonny's recycling joke.
I just made it up. Come on. Polish green card. By the way, for our listeners,
It's a license to recycle.
I should have said composting, although that might be too cutting edge. Gave him a license to compost. Disclaimer, Alex and I are each half Polish, which together means we are whole Polish, which means we are allowed to tell that joke.
We're Polish.
So we don't want to hear from you fans
No.
that we told an inappropriate joke. It was funny.
This is like torn from today's headlines. We really should not say anything. Did you hear about that guy from Saturday Night Live who got kicked off?
No.
He was a new cast member on Saturday Night Live. They announced it, and then like within like maybe 6 hours of them announcing it, they had dug up some podcast he was on where he was like using ethnic slurs and homophobic slurs, and they said, "Okay, you're no longer going to be on Saturday Night Live." So,
Boy,
you gotta be careful what you say on these podcasts,
right.
Pop.
Yeah.
So, but we are half Polish, so we are allowed to
We have
say.
the right to say that.
Yeah.
Would that, in all seriousness, would that joke have disqualified us from being on Saturday Night Live? Seriously.
It's hard to imagine that joke because it's so. If anything, it's more like a dad joke than a.
It's harmless, right?
Well,
Unless you're Polish.
or you're an environmentalist. And
Oh,
you know
because I
how
was
touchy
poking
they
fun.
are about stuff.
You're right. Yeah. Oh, Alex, this just in. I'm checking my email. They revoked your Greenpeace revoked your membership.
Oh no! Then we're gonna bring my composting.
Hey, we don't have to recycle anymore.
When I did go to Poland one time a few years back, and it was unnerving how many of the women there like reminded me of like our cousins.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my, and then I was imagining like, I imagine myself being a single guy there and like, yeah, I'm gonna hook up with some lady, and then I'm suddenly like, so we are distant cousins. It turns out,
I am
not
Natasha.
even distant cousins.
I am Natasha Robinson.
We are married now.
I run a podcast here in Warsaw. That is my passion. What do you do?
Yeah, I haven't heard you do a Polish accent much, and
best I
I
can
think
do.
you're doing pretty good at it.
Okay.
So maybe Polish is your maybe lean on that.
All right.
More. Whenever you're doing an accent, just do a Polish accent.
Are there any Eastern European folk in any of the Godfather movies? Will there be opportunities for me to do those
boy.
accents? I don't think so.
If they ever do the sequel, Godfather 4, not the time traveling one, not the one we had in mind, but they probably have to deal with the Russian mafia there. So there you'll get a chance to.
Yeah. By the way, the Godfather 4, the time traveling version, in the future becomes Godfather 1 because it's the time travel one, and all the other ones move but get bumped up a number.
So Godfather 2 is now Godfather 3.
Yeah, and Joey Zaza is in Godfather 4.
But I thought that was the time travel one.
No, that's the new Godfather 1 because he travels back in time.
So Godfather 3 is now Godfather 1. Anyway, I don't. You're too vague. I don't understand. I don't understand time travel. That's the problem with time travel.
Yeah.
It's too
too complicated, too fast. Back to the minute, right?
Yes.
So those are all the personal questions I had for you.
Okay.
I've got some things from the book.
Sure, sock it too.
Okay.
Sock it to me. Okay, book ready.
Here we go. So as Alex described, in this minute, it's really just Michael and Apollonia in the bedroom, right?
There's a tiny little bit of them finishing up at the wedding. You see the whole. You see the like 100 people who are at their secret wedding.
Yeah. He writes about that. I want to talk about that next minute.
Okay.
So as you can imagine, Puzo writes a lot of
What does he talk
pages
about?
and
Does he talk about the size of Apollonia's vagina?
It's just like I can't even look you in the eye as I'm talking about this stuff because you're my brother. Let's see. Puzo writes, page 341. The wedding feast went on until midnight, but bride and groom would leave before that in the Alfa Romeo. When that time came, Michael was surprised to find that the mother was coming with them to the Corleone villa at the request of the bride.
Whoa, what?
Awkward.
Whoa.
Awkward.
Sicilian traditions are.
Whoa. No wonder they moved to New York.
Woody Allen.
The father explained to Michael. The girl was young, a virgin, a little frightened. She would need someone to talk to on the morning following her bridal night, to put her on the right track if things went wrong. These matters could sometimes get very tricky. Michael saw Apollonia looking at him with doubt in her huge dough-brown eyes. He smiled at her and nodded.
I thought.
How do you interpret that?
That he was like, yeah, I'm gonna tap that ass.
You think about the mom because when he saw that she's going with them.
Yeah, that's what he thought. Like,
Oh, you're sick.
she's gonna be so tapped that she's gonna be the mother there to take care of her in the morning. She's gonna be so tapped. I thought you were gonna ask me, could I marry someone if we did not have a language in common? Seems to be the case here. That
Yeah.
bring your mom along so you have someone to talk to.
But why do you think the mom's there? Well, can you interpret what Puzo wrote? He said sometimes these things could go wrong, meaning she would have second thoughts or be shy.
Or just about the
The physical aspect.
about the sex part of it.
For our listeners, Alex is stood up and is jamming his hips between his hands. Like, I don't know what you call that, the air thrusting.
Air thrusting.
This is the most disturbing episode ever. We got to get through it, though.
We'll get through it.
Yeah. As Gypsy Rose and Dee Dee say, sometimes the only
The
way
way out is through it.
only way out is through it. Let's keep going.
That's what Michael told Apollonia.
That's what her mom said the next morning. Right? Puzo continues writing. And so it came about that they drove back to the villa outside Corleone with the mother-in-law in the car. But the older woman immediately put her head together with the servants of Dr. Taza, gave her daughter a hug and a kiss, and disappeared from the scene. Michael and his bride were allowed to go to their huge bedroom alone. So she sort of left and hung out with the servants.
Yes.
This is all in the villa of Dr. Taza.
Dr. Taza. I would not want to have my honeymoon in Dr. Taza's apartment.
Oh, I thought that's not where I thought you were going.
What did you think I
I
was
thought
going
you
to
were
say?
going to say I would not want to have my honeymoon with my mother downstairs.
Well, that's true, too. That one is also true.
All right, if you had to have Dr. Taza there or your mother.
No, Dr. Taza.
Okay.
Well, it's not like
I withdraw the question. I withdraw the question.
It's not like I don't want to hang out with Dr. Taza, but I imagine it just being because he seems like a creep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I picture like him hiding in a closet watching us do it or something.
Why? Just because of his name? Because of the Taza?
It's medical research. It's medical research. How does the all Americans do it? Like this, and he's thrusting his hips forward. Or like this. And then he's putting his finger through his... anyway. Continue.
The only other part of the book is, of course, Puzo writes pages about their first encounter. It's like a whole chapter about it.
Wow.
Their first physical encounter. He goes into great detail. The only thing I'll say about it, I'll paraphrase, is that it happened a little differently in the book. Michael left the room, came back, and she had closed the shutters to make it dark, and she was already under the covers naked. Yeah, so you didn't have that whole intimate scene that Coppola depicted in the movie.
It's funny, like, for two reasons. A, you have to remember that Mario Puzo was writing this book to be popular. Like, he's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to include some sex in it because
You're right.
sex and violence.
Yeah.
You know, those are the things that people want to see. Similarly, I also think it's funny that Francis Ford Coppola is like, well, people are going to want to see some boobs in the movie, so I'm going to like each of them use this as a time to be like, okay, let's throw a little sex in here now to spice people up a bit. They sat through all the Sicily stuff. Let's give them a little reward for their attention. Now they're back from the bathroom and getting their candy in the.
I'm glad Coppola chose Apollonia instead of Kay.
Really?
To show nude. If you had to have a nude girl in the scene, I think Apollonia was the best choice. Your other choices are Connie, Mama, and Kay.
Or Lucy.
Oh, that's true.
Or Mrs. Sonny Corleone. There's plenty of.
I take it back.
Anyway, we'll talk about the nudity next week. But
Marriage.
Marriage. I wrote down. I got some information about marriage.
Okay.
I figured this episode would need to be, fluffed up a little bit with some trivia.
Sure.
Mikey and Apollonia, of course, are in a traditional one man, one woman monogamous marriage.
Yeah.
But
Like it should be.
there are, throughout history, have been other arrangements people have done. For instance, polygamy. Polygyny.
I think that's polygyny.
Polygyny?
I think I remember hearing it pronounced that way. Because it's Gyny, right?
Yeah. It's not like gynecologist.
I think it's polygyny.
So it's like...
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not polygamy. It's polygamy with an N.
Well, polygamy is just one person with a lot of spouses.
Oh, that's polygamy.
It's not gendered either way.
Okay.
So polygyny is one man with many wives.
Oh, okay.
So poly meaning many. I'm breaking it down.
many women.
Let's break it down.
Yeah.
Let's break it down.
Awesome. We haven't heard that one in a while.
Yeah, poly meaning many, and Ginny meaning Ginny.
So that's not that it's a one man who married Polly and Ginny.
Poly and Ginny.
Okay, that's probably the origin of it. The very first polygenic relationship was Jack, Polly, and Ginny.
Now they make a point of saying this is different from like concubines, where it's like one wife. The man has one wife, but many concubines who don't have like legal status as wife. They're just kind of like taken care of, but they don't have the same rights that the wife
So with
does.
polygyny, they're married, legally married?
Yeah, they're legally married, and
okay.
all the wives are equal in terms of... It typically happens in situations, I'm actually surprised it doesn't happen in Sicily, where women outnumber men, either because there's a war and all the men have been killed. Women tend to live longer anyway.
Yeah, vendettas,
yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's,
Interesting.
in fact, so the cultures that practice this were like, well, either we do that or like all these women who can't get married are either going to become nuns or they're going to become prostitutes because there's no other way they can't get jobs. They're women. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
So the Mormons were like, that's why we will have they have polygynous relationships where it's one man married to many women.
Why did the Mormons? Why did they have an excess of women, which drove them to make that decision? Is that what happened?
I think they kind of just used that as their excuse for having a lot of extra wives. Okay. I know, although by that time, I'm sure men died from frontier times.
Yeah,
God knows
that was mid 19th century.
Yeah, so they would.
Okay.
And so here's an interesting one: sororal polygyny.
Sororal polygyny.
You want to take a guess?
Is it the opposite?
No.
One woman with many husbands? No. All women.
No, that is
all women.
That is one man marrying sisters.
Oh,
Sororal, like sorority.
sorority.
Sororal. So there you go.
Oh man! So one man marrying multiple of his own sisters.
Not his sisters. Like I would marry, like a woman I knew and her sister.
And so, wow, sororal polygyny.
Sororal polygyny. Yeah, amazing. Wow. Now polyandry is one woman with many men.
Okay, polyandry.
That one's less common.
You know how I knew that Andrew was men?
How?
Because my name is Andrew, and I know that is based on some early version of the word man.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know if it's related to Adam.
I was just saying it's Andrew, and I'm a man.
Yeah.
And our grandmother was named Polly. Whoa.
Oh, okay.
That's when you... That's when you marry your own grandmother. So one woman married to many men. This doesn't happen very frequently. They say apparently it's very popular in the Himalayas for some reason. And the reason is because in those situations, land is very scarce, like farmable land.
Okay. So
traditionally in those cultures, like you would divide, when the father died, they would divide up their land amongst all the sons. But then the problem is you wind up with like 10 guys with tiny little plots of land and they have sons. So what they would do is one woman would marry a bunch of men, usually like brothers, and that way the land could all stay. They could keep their plot of land together. You know what I mean? So they would have to divide it up into tiny parcels. Like in other cultures, like Europe, it's usually like the oldest male gets it. So they didn't have to face that dilemma. How do you, what do you do about dividing up all these estates? And then we have group marriages,
Okay.
which is that could be multiple men and multiple women all involved in one
union.
In one union.
Whoa. It's like a commune. I
So
guess.
everyone in there is considered married to everyone else. The husband, all the men are
Whoa.
considered married to each other. All the women are considered. It's like you
Wow.
said, yeah, it's like a communal thing.
By law.
Yes.
Does that happen?
Well, in 1949, they did a study of anthropological study of 250 different societies around the world, and only one of them practiced group marriage.
Wow.
It's like one of the rarest forms of. You can understand.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Oh, so
so where was that?
I think it was like Brazil or something, like a
in a native tribe.
Yeah, I could be wrong,
Somewhere,
but
okay.
don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Also, getting back to the married with sisters thing, the idea of marrying sisters would be that if the two women knew each other before they were married, they would be less likely to be jealous and angry when they were sharing a husband. Which to me seems like, well, I know a lot of siblings, and it's not like that guarantees they're going to get along, especially if they're sharing a spouse. If anything, that would kind of exacerbate
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is, do you want to share a spouse, a common spouse? Get this great Polish girl lined up.
Not to feed a fed horse.
Yeah.
Which of these are most attractive to you? You personally?
Between these novelty ones?
All these novelty marriage setups.
The temptation is to say one man with many wives for obvious reasons. But I'm almost going to say the other. I'm going to say one woman with many husbands. just so
Really?
just so I don't have to do as much work. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's just like, let someone else share it, carry the load of it.
The ratio just seems a little backwards. So you're not into the sororal polygyny?
Oh, well, that one, that would be the exception I would make.
Sororal polygyny. You wouldn't want the group thing, like the hippie commune in
Oh, yeah,
Southern
that would be
Oregon?
a good one. Because it seems like that way, whatever kind of mood you're in, you can
man.
that's good.
Like
And everyone raises the children communally
It's like
and stuff.
electric acid test. You're
Totally,
just
man.
partying,
Let your
everyone helping each other
Let your
out.
freak flag fly. That's
Yeah.
what I always say. The UN did a study. 89% of people on the earth were married before the age of 49. So it's a very common thing. And here's an even more alarming statistic. 80% of all marriages throughout history are with a second cousin or closer.
Oh, and second cousin means...
Second cousin is when you're connected through your grandparents.
Oh, okay.
So like my grandmother, her sister, and then my grandmother's sister's grandkids
grandkids
would be our
Yeah.
second cousins.
Yeah.
Which
So 80%?
80% of marriages throughout human history are
Okay.
that close.
All right.
And
Time to take the DNA test, right?
you know what? We might be more closely related than we thought.
Oh, man.
But and I guess that makes sense in a way, because throughout most of human history, people didn't travel very
They
far.
didn't go
People-
very far from home.
Yeah,
so
people
there
would
was
live like a couple
pool.
of miles.
Yeah.
You know, so your choices are going to be limited
Yeah.
by definition.
Yeah,
So
yeah, definitely.
I guess we should just be lucky that they that first cousin. I guess they said it's second cousins or closer.
Yeah.
That means only 20% of marriages have been with people who aren't your second cousin or
Yeah.
closer. I don't know anyone who's married to their second cousin that I know of.
Not that we know of. I
Yeah.
do have a friend in high school who accidentally hooked up with his second cousin. And he didn't know it. He found out, I think,
Yeah.
a day or two later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's to me, fooling around with your second cousin doesn't seem as bad.
As bad as what? Marrying her?
Well, yeah, marrying, I guess, or a first cousin.
Yeah. Well, that's not the end of the story.
Uh-oh.
Then-
Married her and they had 4 kids.
The next day or 2 days later,
Who all
he found
married
out
each other.
she was his second cousin. 3 days after that, he learned that she was engaged in a sororal polygynic relationship
Whoa.
with his brother.
Wait, so his
And
brother
then
was
he-
marrying his second cousin and his second cousin's sister?
Yes, and then on the fourth day,
Who is also his second cousin.
this is like his family's Bible. And on the fourth day, but seriously, on the fourth day, he learned what was it?
Every day he learns a new thing.
Well, he starts exploring it
they
more.
fool around on for day 1. Day 2, he finds out it's his second cousin. Day 3, he finds out that
it was him. And well, this is before the internet, so you couldn't just get online and go to heritage.org and look it all up. But the last one was the most revealing. It was something, I don't even remember what it was. It was disturbing. I kept getting, every day, I kept getting closer and closer to home. I won't reveal his name.
Just a little sidebar here to make everyone super paranoid. I was talking to a lawyer one time, and they said never do those ancestry like those things where you send in your DNA test.
Why not?
And they send you the thing because insurance companies can have access to that, and if they find out that your family has a history of blah 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 disease, then they're like, oh, you know what? We see you have that, so you have to pay more or whatever. Ugh.
I read that insurance
companies are the most evil thing ever.
Yeah, I agree. Middle people shouldn't exist.
Middle people should not exist.
I was going to say middlemen, but I wanted to be more PC.
Oh, I say.
Middle people.
So
people in the middle.
Yeah, you want to include women in the list of things that should not exist.
Yeah, sorry. It was the bad time to be PC. Bad time to be inclusive, but yeah.
30 U.S. states outlaw first cousin marriages, which means 20 states allow you to marry your first cousin.
Gosh. Okay. First cousin.
Your first cousin.
That means the child of your aunt or uncle.
Yes.
Blood aunt or uncle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Presumably you'd be raised by blood. Some one of those people.
That seems a little too close to home.
I have a great story. A guy I know. Let's call him.
This is the same guy that we both
Call him
know.
Doc.
Okay.
He was married to a lady.
Okay, it's a good thing he's a doc because he can learn all that, how to treat his
He was married.
Children.
He was married to a lady, and they had 2 children together. And then his wife was like, "You know what? We live in Michigan. Why don't we move? We should move somewhere else in the country. Why don't we move to like Virginia?" And he was like, "Sure, I'll move to Virginia. I don't care. There's nothing for me here now." And so they moved to Virginia, and it turns out that she was having an affair with her first cousin.
back in Virginia.
And they moved to Virginia specifically because they allow first cousins to get married.
Oh, so she moved there to divorce Doc and then to marry
her.
Why didn't she just, if she's going to drop Doc anyway, why would she not just do it and then go?
I think because it's easier if someone's helping you move all your stuff and your kids. And plus, so when they got there and she's like, you know what, I'm leaving you for your first cousin, for my first cousin. And this guy just moved there. And so he had to live with his ex-wife and her cousin, who are now in a relationship.
Yeah, so he couldn't leverage this into a sororal polygenic relationship.
I guess she didn't have any sisters.
Oh my gosh!
So
you busted.
Oh, man. And the other thing was, if that happened to me, I would never tell anyone that story.
But you know what? On some level,
silver lining.
On some level, I think I would be able to get over that a little bit easier and more quickly than if it was someone unrelated to her. Because clearly there's some weird family instinctual draw between those two that's beyond rational thinking. So it's almost like it's a sickness. It's this weird thing that
it has nothing to do
with you. It's like genes and instinct.
Yeah,
it's not like you just got dropped for some stranger who's better looking than you.
Wasn't closely related to her. Where did it go wrong?
He's like, well, look, baby, we're related. He had all these papers forged. Look, we're actually brother and sister.
You're just saying that. So, and finally, my last trivia factoid, and this is relevant to Mikey and Apollonia. Another form of marriage is for people to get citizenship. And the most recent statistic I have was 2003, when close to 185,000 immigrants were admitted to the U.S. having married American citizens who are then now entitled to, and and then even more who came to the U.S. with the intention of
So
so it's a lot of. When I was in college, I almost married a lady for because she needed a green card.
Wow.
A friend of mine was like, "Oh, this girl I know from this is in college. She's from Sweden, and she's
Wait, was that the friend or was that the girl?
it's the friend." He was like, "Oh, my friend."
Oh, because you're doing very good. Yeah, I'm from Sweden. I need a husband.
He said that he's like, my friend needs to stay in the country, and she's willing to pay like $5,000 for an American to marry her.
That's big money in the 80s.
Yeah. It's
College
still pretty
kid
good
in
money
the
for
80s?
college now. If someone offered you $5,000
Yeah,
for,
wow.
and I was like $5,000, and I was, but I kind of like,
And she's from Sweden.
yeah, and she's from Sweden. He's like,
Did you verify that it was U.S. dollars and not Swedish francs? Because it's like $15 in the 80s.
It was $5,000 hairs.
Oh,
She was the heir to the big Swiss doll fortune, Swedish doll fortune. So she paid me in those. So yeah,
did you? How much did you consider it and look into it? Did you? I guess this was pre-internet. Did you know what you would have to do? Would you have to live together for 2 years?
No, he was saying like you wouldn't have to you wouldn't have to live together or anything. You just go down to City Hall,
married.
act like you were going to get married.
See, it's not that easy anymore because I do have a friend who got married to legitimately married and carved a life out together here in the U.S. She was from another country, and it took a while. And you take tests and you have to prove you were living together.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's not just a piece of paper.
It's possible it might have been more complicated than a bunch of college kids realized, but that's what he told me at the time was like you wouldn't have to live together, you don't get to have sex with her, forget it.
Oh, I know. It's not official. It's not official.
It's not consummated.
It's consummated. It's not a contract.
Still, or how small it is.
Oh.
It still counts.
The twist to that story was you go through the trouble, you marry her, and then you find out that your friend was also married to her. So now you're in this.
We are technically brothers.
What is it? Polygamic Andre?
Polyandry.
Polyandry.
Polyandrous relationship.
Polyandrous. No! And you're stuck. You're married. And you can't get out of it because then Customs and Border Protection would know that you were in it in the first place just as a sham
I'd
wedding.
have to go before the judge to show cause.
Yeah. So bringing it back to The Godfather.
Yes.
And listeners, thanks for allowing us to go on that bird walk. This was a little bit of a slow minute. So.
Yeah.
But
there's literally no dialogue in it whatsoever.
But this is a sick question, but we already went down this path.
If people have followed us this long, then I think we're pretty safe for.
If the regular bonus episode is this sick, or the regular episode is this sick, can you imagine how sick the bonus one is? If the characters in the Corleone family were the only ones who existed in this tribe, and they wanted to procreate and live on, who would marry whom?
Well, there's not that many women, so they would probably. But I don't think those mustache Pete's would be so open-minded as to have polyandrous relationships.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think it would whoever just the top, they
would just kill
whoever
each
the
other.
heads. It would just go strictly by the hierarchy.
Yeah.
Like whoever, like they would divide the women up amongst the top people, and then
well, and
like nature.
I think the most of the mustache Pete's would vie for a valuable wife, someone who would be a good homemaker. But Talia would be good with the pimp, with all the prostitutes.
Everything with him is whores. I guess there probably wouldn't be whores because although unless that balance of power anyway, it might shift, and then the women being the minority with the power of they would be the ones in charge because they would be the ones to dispense. But in like a violent culture, that would always come down to like some guy. You're not gonna hold Luca Brasi off by talking about how he has to wait, because you don't want to have to do it with him.
Yeah.
Don Corleone, may I marry your daughter on your wedding day?
It's funny you should bring up Luca Brasi because for the next minute, 113, I have a great Luca Brasi story that has to do with family.
Oh.
That's in the book.
Okay, a little teaser there for next week. Stay tuned.
What are we going to rate this one, Alex?
Oh, boy.
We don't see the nudity. It's the end of the wedding, and Michael and Apollonia just getting into the room.
It ends with him gently holding his face in his his police officer murdering hands.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Okay. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, A.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
no big surprise there.
Yeah.
All right, I guess that'll wrap up minute 112.
Folks, stick around. We got some great bonus content. We are either going to talk about Andrew Dice Corleone, or, as I told you, Alex, I went to the Rocky Horror Picture Show for the very first time last weekend.
Oh, well, we'll definitely want to talk about that because I want to hear your. Cause I know it's not Godfather related, but they both came out in the 70s. So
Yeah, so we may do that today. We may do it next week, depending
we'll
on how much.
recast the Rocky Horror Show with Godfather cast members.
Do you remember it well enough to be able to discuss it?
Yeah.
Okay.
A bit.
And I saw it at a drive-in movie theater.
Wow.
It was fantastic.
Okay. So, well, that sounds pretty exciting. So if you want to hear that, go to godfatherminute.com/support. And otherwise,
We're accepting reviews on iTunes.
yes, please always give, if you can go to your local podcast server and give us a great review there, help other people discover the show.
It keeps me going. But maybe every 5 or 6 hours I check to see if someo's written a new review.
Do you really?
I
never read the review. You can never read the reviews.
Mama, can I ever read the reviews? That's how I'd set you up with it.
Do you think it would be good if people gave negative reviews, but like in character, like there's too much talk about Joey Zaza, not enough talk about Joey Zaza or whatever. So don't do it, everybody.
And they create an iTunes account like Clemenza.
Yeah, you can give us negative comments if you want, but still give us 5 stars. 'Cause that's the only part that really matters is the stars. So so do that.
Yeah.
All right, and until then, there will be no acts of vengeance.